Hello, and welcome to DreamHack Tonight's Exploring Esports. I am your host, Alex Jabali, and this week we're going to talk about the Super Smash Brothers community with one of my favorite personalities, a good friend I've known him since the very first events that I ever hosted for Smash. This is Team Liquid's HungryBox, a world champion. Everyone knows him, an amazing content creator since COVID took over. He just does so much and gives back to the community and supports a lot of events all over the world. How are you, HungryBox?
I'm doing all right and happy to still be playing Smash in some form even during a pandemic. So glad that's working out.
Yeah, so basically, Melee has always been your main game. You've dabbled into, Smash 4 and all that, but Puff seems to be really good in Ultimate. How's that going for you in Ultimate now?
I mean, I wouldn't say Puff is a great Ultimate character. I still think she's kind of low tier, maybe mid tier at best, but, a lot of things have been discovered which allow the character to, sort of do more like options and get further in the bracket. I've made upsets on top players like Spargo. I've been taking sets off like MK Leo, like a lot of ranked players every once in a while. But honestly, there's like a tournament every single day online, so it's just cool the fact that I can still be a contender at least. I'm not pro or top 100 or anything like that, but I'm a contender, and people see me as more of a threat nowadays. And I've been kind of grinding the game every day. So yeah, playing Puff in both games. The only tricky thing is switching back and forth, and I think my Melee results has sort of shown that. But I think once with the Smash World Tour being announced and sort of the prospect of being back in person on Melee tournaments, I can put more focus on Melee when the time comes up in October.
Yeah, we're all waiting, and everyone's familiar with you, but for the ones that tune into all our DreamHack events and our shows, kind of tell people how you got started into before esports was a thing. Smash was very popular, was huge, along with the fighting game community. Tell us kind of how you got your start in Melee. Like, what were some of your first memories?
Melee, it was going to locals in Orlando, just grinding the game. I was in a crew here called Wado, What Are the Odds? It's actually the manager of the Wendy's next to my parents' house. And it was just a group of, 10, 12 players, all playing different high top tier characters. And I was like this new kid on the block playing Jigglypuff. But, almost accidentally, I got a foundation for the entire current landscape and meta for Melee. And as soon as I went into that crew, within like 6 months, I was placing top 3 in almost every local we went to. They called it the third place curse, because I got third place for like 6 months straight at tournaments, but I was making little by little bits of money here and there, which as a middle school player or a little high school player, that paid for books, that paid for things that I needed. So it was cool to call myself like a part-time semi-pro gamer in the scene. Orlando really is one of the best scenes ever for many fighting games, so it was a lot of luck being in the right place at the right time. But yeah, local scene is very, very important for getting good at a game.
I'll never forget, actually, the very first CEO in 2010. After you had won Melee, I remember you were just a little kid, and I was running the event. I was mostly in Street Fighter at the time, and I sat down to play a game with you, and you had rested me like 3 stocks in a row. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna let you keep doing your thing, buddy. Have a good time.
Yeah.
But it's amazing to see how far you've come. I've been there for pretty much all your Evo, your finals and performances. Looking back, what's probably the single most important lesson that helped you? Locals is very important, obviously, to kind of grow as a player. What's the biggest lesson you can give off to new people for the next generation? Because as you know, there's a younger generation coming into Smash now. And what's the best advice you could give?
Swallow your pride, honestly. A lot of times you think you can do it alone. And, I was sure I picked up on the game pretty quickly, but a lot of the certain points, the reason I got better is because I'd look over to my opponent or a guy who's like 4-stock me, and I'd just say, how the hell did you beat me so badly? And they'll give you the advice and what you need. And it's just like one piece of a puzzle, this 1,000-piece puzzle of creating your playstyle and your character. I would say to most people, if you really do want to go pro in the game, I would shy away from the middle tiers and low tiers. Like the tiers do exist in games for reasons, and more modern games you can sort of patch and buff them. So games like Ultimate, many characters are viable and unexplored. Older games like Melee, which are not going to be patched anymore, there is a clear defined meta. Not saying you can't push it, but stick to a character, more importantly, that you enjoy, the one you have the most fun with, because the more fun you have with the character, more quickly you can learn everything about them. It's a passion, and the passion has to fuel your desire to learn. So those are the main tidbits of advice. But the best thing is, today in 2021, especially for Melee or any game, these kids have more tools than ever now to get good. Like, we didn't have these character dedicated discords. We didn't have these video guides. We didn't have rollback Slippy. We had to do things a lot more on our own feet and sort of from the ground up. But right now, the foundations are all there. You can learn a character or pick up a game more quickly than ever. So just take advantage of all the tools you have in front of you, for sure.
Yeah, I tweet questions more than Google searching now, and I get better answers. That kind of answers my next question. Like, what are good resources? Did you ever use like Smashboards too, forums back in the day, or you just kind of waited until the Facebook groups and the Discords of the world?
Yeah, we used Smashboards a ton back then, and Smashboards on the Atlantic South page. I was also a TO like yourself, Alex. And actually, another story is the fact that sort of like the idea for CEO 2010 started early on from you. But I remember a conversation you and I had, me wanting to integrate Smash into it, and then me ending up, I won the event, but I also helped run the melee portion of it near the end of it. So it was just really cool to have like, sort of two different minds in the FGC, and I was way younger than you at the time, but come together and make a really cool event, which is now like a staple in the scene. So yeah, I was the scene is very, very important to me. What was the main question? I'm sorry, I got sidetracked.
Like the resources. What's your? There's so many options now. What's probably the number one? What's the first one you would send somebody to that wanted to learn Puff and Ultimate? Where would you send them?
Right. Yeah. So at first it was Smashboards and the forums, and then I went to the Facebook groups. Right now, I would say join the Discord for your character. Just Google search like if you're playing Ultimate, you want to play Ridley Ultimate Discord. You have all the best Ridley players in the world giving advice there. Same for every character in any game you can imagine. Discord is an amazing platform for discussion and just nourishing your growth of it. And I think the second most important would be YouTube, following the guides of pros and following the streams and guides of people who are really, really good with the character, because just watching them, a lot of Smash players are visual learners, because Smash is an extremely visual game. It's a platform fighter, right? There's not just like left and right, sort of like with other positional fighters, there's movement vertically, and just watching someone and watching how they interact in both in neutral, punish, and recovery, like that really opens your eyes. So watch, learn, ask a lot of questions, and use Discord and YouTube a lot.
Yeah, I mean, you've been very helpful to people. How did you, before COVID, you were dabbling in content creation, not as much as you are now. Like, how did you balance that? And kind of like, did it help you get better as a player, giving out information and teaching people? Because I sometimes find when you help others, you actually learn just as much, if not more, than them.
That is true. Well, I'm actually one of the more famous cases of being, I guess, not a great coach myself, but having the greatest coach. Like, in 2017, I think it was, or 2015, 2016, Crunch became my official coach for Melee. We were one of the first teams ever, Liquid, to have an official coach in a capacity for Melee. And then we went from rank 5 to 2, and then best in the world. And every other team got a coach for their players. It became like this big thing. But again, all it was me following through to my original advice I gave myself. Swallow your pride, ask for help when you need it. And his mind was much more analytical than mine. Like when I'm playing, I sort of play with my heart. I sort of play with what I feel. I don't always use my brain all the time. I'm sort of just like a brute force kind of guy. But with him, he sees the bigger picture. He sees, look at these percent windows, look at these bubbles, look at these things that you could be doing that you don't always do because you might be afraid. And more specifically, yeah, Puff versus Fox, for instance, the biggest matchup, the most important matchup of my career. It's not just Puff versus Fox. It's now you versus Leffen's Fox, you versus Armada's Fox, you versus Mango's Fox. These are three just different characters. It's like someone's choosing a different character on the screen. So it's little things like that that lets you explore the depth of the game, the depth rather of the game, how deep it is. So yeah.
And then let's go back. You've actually won a couple DreamHacks. You've been to some of our DreamHack Smash events.
Yeah.
I believe Austin, there's an image I'll have to send over to production to show where I'm holding up the big cardboard cutout of you during finals while running that event. That was a good time. But Smash is just, it's always had some of the biggest tournaments. It's stood the test of time. Obviously that Evo win where you had the huge comeback, when you were pretty much about to be knocked out, I believe, by Armada. What are some of your favorite moments? Yours personally, obviously, and then what are some of your favorites that have nothing to do with you that are in the Smash community?
Yeah, I think for me, like nothing really tops that Evo reset. It was just to me that's like my thumbprint on the world. When I'm dead and gone, like that'll be the one thing. I mean, will always remain. So I'm really happy. I was blessed, lucky enough to experience that and to have it all come together. But the other moments that are really important was just like the Smash scene coming together to bring Melee back to Evo. Another thing that was important was maybe like just the production, the top 8 of certain tournaments like Genesis, like Shine, just the amount of work that the entire community has put in as a whole to make these events happen. And we are no matter which way you spin it, we are a grassroots community. We don't have developer support like a lot of other huge games do. So the fact that we're able to create Smash, both Melee and the current title, now Ultimate, into these incredible communities, which have these crazy cult followings, that all just came from the combined passion of thousands of people. And I think that's something that'll always be immortal. So people usually use the phrase, sometimes dead game, to refer to something that no one ever plays anymore. But to me, a game is only dead if no one's ever playing it. And I think there's always going to be a ton of people playing Smash Bros. Because I consider it the greatest game of all time. So yeah, passion fuels communities. You need that love to have it exist. And we are existing well and alive today.
Yeah, and obviously we both know, even I, I've partnered with Nintendo before. We would love some kind of official circuit. But besides that, right, which is what all the top players want, which I believe they also deserve for the amount of work you put into it. What's one thing you would change about the community from like a tournament perspective? When events do come back, I know we're all going to be rushing to do offline events. I think they're going to be bigger than ever at anybody hosting them. So my question kind of is, what would you change about how tournaments might be run outside of like the obvious prize pools being bigger, stuff like that?
The one thing I would change is that, we are in a pandemic, and obviously right now we can't really have 20 people in the same place. But let's say, if it comes down to it, and it really is the idea of how we can make it all happen, we can integrate a lot more, maybe support that isn't, for instance, Nintendo. We can integrate a lot more people who want to invest into the scene. We can figure out ways to have it televised, figure out ways to have more exposure on Twitch front pages. The game with big viewership is a potential for a lot of people to, have opportunities in their careers, to make money. There's a lot of opportunity and for people to actually have their dreams come true. So when we come back, all we have to do is learn from the lessons from before, continue our level of production, continue the hype and the sort of the aesthetic and the culture that we've created in Smash. We can continue that and push it to an even higher degree. Like, people are always figuring out new ways to make games better. And we had a really good thing going on. We had, just before the pandemic hit, the Smash 4 Tour was going to happen with all these events, circuit, qualifiers, everything crowdfunded. Smash Summit does a really good job of crowdfunding resources and giving bigger prize pools. We just need to continue on that path. And whenever new innovations come on platforms, whether it be something like Twitch, whether it's AI, whether it's a way to gather data, online implementations, ways to fix your controllers, whatever it is that can make a game professional or get a competitive game experience better, should be applied to Smash Bros. And because I think we are one of the biggest, if not the biggest, fighting game scene in the world, if you consider both competitive and casual as a combination. Obviously, I don't have the numbers on that, but it's a wildly wide-reaching game. Like, Ultimate has characters from Final Fantasy, Street Fighter, and Pokemon, Link, Zelda, all of the above. So it's a game that's touched everyone in some sort of way. I just really wish that it had the representation from the devs. And hopefully one day it might happen. I'm not saying it won't ever happen. I'm just saying that the community, I think, has done more than enough to respect it at this point and to merit it.
I agree. Well, Juan, thank you, man. As a friend, as a colleague in the industry, we worked together, we've played together, all that. Keep being successful. Any last words? Where can people follow you? Your YouTube, Twitch. How often do you use Twitch stream, actually?
I try and Twitch stream every single day, and I think that most content creators should do that, whether it's to grow your brand or to get better at the game. So twitch.tv/HungryBox, and I love doing tournament runs. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, Juan, thank you so much. This was another episode of Exploring Esports with Alex Jabali. See you next time.
I'll see you, man.